Who's ready to spill the tea? Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maisie and today we are going through your unpopular opinions. So I asked over on my Instagram story for you guys to send over your unpopular opinions and we are going to go through them. I also put up a Q&A in case there was any questions that you wanted to ask me. We will go through some of those at the end. We're just going for a cozy vibe today. We're on the spare bed. We're just going to chat. So let me pull up my Instagram story. Okay, so the first one is, if I set a TBR, I need to read those books before reading any others. I think that this is an unpopular opinion, but actually I agree with this opinion. I really stick to my TBR. For the most part, I do maybe sometimes veer off if there's like another book that I like desperately need to read because I'm in the middle of a series or something and I want to carry it on, or if there's a new release that comes out that I just have to pick up. But to be honest, it doesn't happen that often. Usually I do pick from my TBR. And I like it because I feel like my physical TBR, like my whole TBR, is just too big and it overwhelms me and I just have no idea what to pick. So it's so nice to have a monthly TBR to focus on. So it's just easier for me. But yeah, I think that's probably unpopular. I think a lot of people tend to mood read, or they pick TBRs and then don't tend to read that many books off the TBR and they just read other things. So I think that is unpopular, but I agree. I like to stick to my monthly TBR when I can. Okay, the next one, Iron Flame was good. I love that this has been sent in as an unpopular opinion. To be honest, I think it is an unpopular opinion. Fourth Wing did so well and everybody loved Fourth Wing, and Iron Flame just was not as good. Like objectively, it was not as good. I read Iron Flame as part of like a reading vlog and I shared like my full thoughts there, and I did say I don't think it was bad, but it also wasn't good. So I have to disagree with this one. I don't think it was good. It was just rushed and not much happened. The romance was disappointing. Yeah, I don't think it was good, sorry. Next one is, this is quite a niche one. Fantasy books should be in third person. I'm struggling to understand this one. I am a first person girl. Like, I love to read in first person. I find it much easier to read books that are written in first person, much easier to connect with the characters. However, if I do have to read a book that's in third person, I would rather it be a fantasy than anything else. So for example, like Sarah J Maas. Are all her books in third person or is it just Throne of Glass? I can't now remember if ACOTAR's in first or third person, the first three books. I think it's all in third person. Yeah, I think with fantasy it can work, but I don't know that they should always be in third person. But if it's gonna be written in third person, I'd rather it be a fantasy book. Okay, this one's a bit of a hot topic. Taylor Swift references in books are annoying and just marketing. You know what? I do agree. I think whenever I have read a book that's like, oh, this is based on a Taylor Swift song, or there's loads of Taylor Swift references throughout it, I've been disappointed. The only ones that I can really think of that are like that are The Summer of Broken Rules and, oh, there's a Christmas one. I can't remember what that Christmas one was called, but I didn't like either of those. And now, to be honest, if I see a book that's like described as like Taylor Swift referenced or Taylor Swift themed, it doesn't like make me pick it up. Because yeah, I do agree, I think often it is just like marketing. They know that there's a big Taylor Swift fan base out there. They know that there's a big crossover probably between Taylor Swift fans and readers. I do think it's annoying and I do agree it's probably just marketing. If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan doesn't deserve the hype. It's really awful and I should have DNF'd it. I actually really enjoyed If He Had Been With Me. I like a sad book and that's what it was. I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I will say, however, that I have absolutely no desire to read the second book to it. Like, I don't need to go back into that world, and I think that that's kind of annoying that it was like made to have a second book. I just don't think it was needed. And from what I've heard, my dog's snoring. From what I've heard, I don't think people have enjoyed the second book, and I think it does maybe feel a bit pointless. So yeah, I don't know. I do disagree with this one. I really enjoyed If He Had Been With Me. A romance book has no business being over 300 pages in length. This is a hard one because like, I low-key do agree, but at the same time, so many of my favourite romance books are over 300 pages. Okay, I'm gonna say it really depends on the kind of romance book. If it's just a fluffy, fun, light-hearted romance book, 100% doesn't need to be more than 300 pages or like 350 pages. However, if it's like got more angst, slow burn, I don't know, then sometimes I just think that I like it when they're longer and sometimes they don't feel that long. So yeah, I'm a bit conflicted on that one. I think it depends on the kind of book. Like if we're talking a Sarah Adams style book, for example, yes, exactly. Anything like that should 100% be a short book, and Sarah Adams does do a very good job at keeping her books short. However, there are books like Magnolia Parks. I love the length of Magnolia Parks. Boys of Torment, I mean, I do think the Boys of Torment books are a little bit too long, but I wouldn't want them to only be 300 pages at the same time. So I think it depends, because sometimes books can be long and you don't even notice that they're long because you're just sucked in. I do know that like the one book that I really felt this with though was The Spanish Love Deception. That book had no business being that long. Throne of Glass is better than ACOTAR. I think I've seen a lot of people recently kind of starting to say this, that they kind of prefer Throne of Glass than they do ACOTAR. It's hard for me to say because I think there's a bit of recency bias in it for me. Like, I read Throne of Glass much more recently than I read ACOTAR, and now I'm like struggling to remember ACOTAR. All I do remember though is that when I read A Court of Mist and Fury, I was literally like, this is the best book I've read in my entire life. And I think I maybe still feel that way about that book. I really want to do a reread of the first 3 ACOTAR books just to experience it again and see if I love it as much this time. I think that the world and the amount of characters and the side characters and stuff is better in Throne of Glass, I will say. I literally was obsessed with some of the side characters in Throne of Glass, where I don't feel that way about ACOTAR. So I think like the general universe, I probably prefer Throne of Glass, but the romance, it's got to be ACOTAR every day for me. I prefer physical books over Kindle. I like to have physical books, but I do think that you just can't beat reading on Kindle. Like, it's just so quick and easy, but sometimes there's just something nice about having a physical book. So yeah, I think it depends. I would probably say the popular opinion would be that people prefer Kindle. So I guess, yeah, maybe it is unpopular if you prefer reading physical books. Next one, I don't even know if I can read this one out loud, guys. This one personally offends me. I just don't know if I've got it in me to share it. Magnolia Parks is overrated. How dare you? Well, obviously I disagree with this. I also don't think it's overrated because I think that lots of people don't like it. I think it's like Marmite, like you either love it or you hate it. So I don't know if I think it's overrated. I absolutely love it. I think that like it's very much known to be what it is. Like, it's known to be toxic and character driven, and if those aren't things that you want to read about, then you surely just wouldn't pick it up. So I don't know. I can't say a bad word about Magnolia Parks, except maybe the last Magnolia Parks book. But overall, I just love Magnolia Parks, so definitely disagree, and I think that that is an unpopular opinion. Just because a book takes you a long time to read doesn't mean you didn't like it. Yeah, I think that if a book takes you a long time to read, I personally don't see how that could be a 5-star book, but it just depends. Like, that's personally for me because I read every single day. I love reading. If a book is 5-star to me, like, I can't put it down, so it's not going to take me a long time to read. However, obviously some people don't read as much, don't have as much time for reading, and so it might take you a lot longer to read a book. So I think it's just very subjective, but I think personally for me, if a book takes me a long time to read it, it doesn't necessarily mean that I didn't like it, but it probably means that it's like not going to be anything above 4 stars. Like, it's probably going to be around the 3-star mark if I did like it and it took me a long time to read. I also think that the quicker that you read a book, like the less sittings that you read a book in, the more you will like it because you just like stay sucked into the story. Personally, that's how I feel anyway. American covers are better than UK covers. I did a video on this with my boyfriend actually a while ago, and American covers did win. I do in general usually prefer American covers. There's only a few. Oh, we've got another dog. Do you want to come up as well? Oh yeah. Oh, you're gonna give up. Shall I move up a little bit? There you go, nearly jumped on top of her. Oh yeah, I think there's only a few exceptions to this. So for example, I do prefer the Once Upon a Broken Heart covers to the American covers, but I can't really think of any others that I prefer. So yeah, I agree, American covers are better than UK covers. Bookmarks over dog earring pages. I mean, I would say that's a popular opinion. I feel like surely not that many people prefer to dog ear their pages. I certainly don't, would never. I always use a bookmark. Okay, let's just do a few more and then we'll move on to the Q&A. Spines should be cracked. I disagree. I don't know. I just like my books to look nice on the shelf, so I try not to break spines, but in the UK it's really hard not to break spines because the books are so stiff that like you're literally having to read it like that if you're not gonna break the spine. Whereas I know that like in America, if I lived in America, I would never break a spine, and in the UK like I don't ever purposely break a spine. So I don't know. I'm definitely not somebody who enjoys cracking them. Like, you know, you see people like purposely just like when they're reading a book, like, get the spine cracked and bend it. But no, I could never. But you do you. Plot over characters. I don't know, I think this is a hard one. I think it has to be a mixture of two, but I would say in general I prefer character-driven books than plot-driven books. So I guess I disagree, but I think that that is probably a popular opinion. I think most people probably prefer plot to characters. But if you like just don't care about the characters, then surely it's boring no matter what the plot is. I don't know. Let's just do one more. Binge reading a series is better than reading as it comes out. Agree. It's really annoying actually, like if you read the first book in a series when it comes out and then you have to wait like a year or more for the second book and then you've completely forgotten what's happened. That's really annoying, and has happened to me many times. And then also often by the time the next book comes out, I'm just not that bothered anymore or interested. So it is much nicer to be able to binge read. However, I actually don't like to read series, like books in series back to back. I like to read them like over the course of a couple of months, but like with other books in between. So kind of in between the two there. Okay, we're now going to move on to the Q&A part of this video. First question, what music do you listen to? There's like a short answer and then there's a long answer. My short answer would be Taylor Swift. Majority of the time I am listening to Taylor Swift. I love Taylor Swift. I can't wait to go and see the Eras tour this summer. Like, I absolutely love Taylor Swift. My favourite albums are, not that anyone asked, Folklore, love Folklore, 1989, Speak Now, Tortured Poets Department, and Rep. That was like a lot, but I can't really narrow it down. Those are my favourite Taylor albums. I'm really loving listening to the Tortured Poets Department, by the way. And I'm excited to see what songs, if any, she adds to the set list for Eras tour. The long answer is obviously Taylor Swift, number one, and then other artists that I listen to. Olivia Rodrigo, I love Olivia Rodrigo. A bit of country, so like Zach Bryan, Luke Combs. And then if I was like listening to music in more of like a party mood, like if I was with my friends, like having drinks and stuff, then I would probably be listening to maybe 1975. Sorry, I'm just looking at my playlist now to think. Harry Styles, I do really like Harry Styles. Foals, Tame Impala, also Sabrina Carpenter. Love Sabrina Carpenter too. So yeah, that's the music that I listen to. Basically like 90% Taylor Swift, and then the others all kind of like take up the next 10%. What book got you into reading? Oh, this is a hard one. What was the book that got me into reading? Okay, so what I will say is during secondary school, I read and became obsessed with like the typical books that people were. So basically Twilight, I think. I'm pretty sure it was like Twilight I was obsessed with. Like I loved the Twilight books, but I didn't really read other than that. And then we obviously went into like the dystopian time of books. I also read and really liked Divergent, Delirium, love Delirium, The Hunger Games, and then also maybe like the Mortal Instruments series. I can't remember exactly when I read that, but I read that as well. So that was, I think, all during when I was at secondary school, maybe sixth form. But then during 2020, it must have been, I like randomly, I think, was like looking for book recommendations because it was like COVID lockdown, obviously. And I found BookTube, and that's when I first heard about BookTube and started reading some BookTube books. So I'm just looking at my Goodreads here, and the first one that I read was The Hating Game, and that was in March 2020. And I remember absolutely loving that. So I'd say maybe like The Hating Game, Dear Ava by Ilse Madden Mills, Normal People by Sally Rooney, The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. Yeah, so The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, I was absolutely like obsessed with when I read that book. Like that was my favourite one. And then after that I read the Selection series. Absolutely loved the Selection series. Like I binged that in like 2 days. And yeah, I guess then it slowly grew. So overall in 2020 I read a total of 39 books, which was by far like the most books I had ever read. And then 2021 it kind of carried on. I read 31 books, so not as many, but you know, still a lot more than I had been. And then in 2022 it really jumped, and I read 78 books in 2022, 2023, last year 80 books, and this year I'm trying to read 100. So yeah, that was quite a long-winded answer. Favourite author? I don't know if I have a favourite author. Jessa Hastings, I love. Sarah J Maas, I love. Oh, Chloe Walsh is like a new favourite author that I'm loving. Mariana Zapata, I really like Mariana Zapata. Lynn Painter, is she a favourite author? I don't know, like her books are very hit and miss for me, but maybe. I would say like that's it so far for my favourite authors. Favourite fantasy series. I would say my favourite fantasy series is probably Akatar. Honestly, the Sacred Stone series, there's only 2 books out so far. That's like my current obsession. I am very much enjoying that series. Obviously Throne of Glass I love. I think those are probably my favourite ones. Oh, obviously Once Upon a Broken Heart I really enjoy as well. Favourite trope. Do I have a favourite trope? Okay, in my mind my favourite trope is brother's best friend. However, I can't really think of many books where I have enjoyed that trope. So maybe it's not, but like just in my mind, that's like a trope that I love and I want to see done well. In fact, I need to read Wild Love by Elsie Silver because I'm pretty sure that's that trope. So I'm excited to read that. But yeah, if you have any good recommendations for Brother's Best Friend, then please let me know. Other than that, favourite trope, I don't know. I like slow burn. I like enemies to lovers if it's fantasy. Grumpy Sunshine. I know it's basic, but I just like it. Yeah, I think those are my favourite tropes. Top 5 books you've enjoyed so far this year. Okay, that would probably be, let me look at my 2024 reading challenge. Binding 13, definitely. When in Rome by Sarah Adams. The Teacher by Frida McFadden, I really enjoyed that. A Dawn of Onyx by Kate Golden. Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher maybe? I think, it's hard to say, but I really enjoyed all 5 of those books and those are definitely like up there in my favourites so far. What's your favourite trope? What's your favourite trope? What trope are you and your boyfriend? Probably, I would say Grumpy Sunshine, but like reverse Grumpy Sunshine where I'm the grumpy one and he is the sunshine, but only outwardly, if that makes sense, like in social situations and like in terms of how we portray ourselves, it's probably like that. He's very loud, confident and chatty to people and he likes to have fun and a good time, whereas I am a bit more reserved. I am quite dry as well, but actually when it's just us two, we're kind of like equal amounts Grumpy Sunshine. Favourite book from childhood, I kind of went over this I suppose, so definitely the Twilight series in general. Like I love the Twilight series. Also Delirium, that series I absolutely loved. And then also Chasing Daisy by Paige Toon. Read that before I even knew anything about F1, which is funny because now I love F1, but I didn't know anything about it back then and I absolutely love that book. I've read it like 4 times, so that's definitely an old favourite. Those are the main ones I can think of. What's your favourite film? My favourite film, if I had to just name one, is probably Pearl Harbor. I don't know why people think that's really weird, but I just absolutely love Pearl Harbor. The love triangle. Oh, I should have said favourite trope, love triangle. I love a love triangle. Very unpopular opinion, but I love a love triangle. So yeah, Pearl Harbor is probably like my number 1, but my favourite type of film is just like romance films, like rom-coms. I loved Anywhere But You. Anywhere But You? Anyone But You. But then like if we're thinking classic rom-coms, John Tucker Must Die, absolutely love. She's the Man, absolutely love. Life as We Know It, love. Completely different type of film, Peter Pan, the like one with the real people in. That was a favourite film for a long time. I can't even tell you how many times I've watched that film and how many times I have bawled my eyes out at that film. Love Peter Pan. What is your job? What do you do for work? I don't know if I've ever said what I do for work. Probably not. It's not very interesting. I work for a company in HR. So my job, like a HR business partner job. Yeah, I don't really talk about my job because it's quite boring to other people, I think. What is your dog's name? So I have 2 dogs. Albie, who you can't see right now, he's on the floor. I'll put a picture up. He was our first dog that we got. We got him in 2019. I always wanted dogs my whole life, but I never had them. And then when my boyfriend and I bought our first house in 2019, the weekend that we moved into that house, we went to look at a litter of puppies that I had found, and 2 weeks later we brought him home with us, so I didn't waste any time. So yeah, Albie we got in 2019. He is a miniature cockapoo, so he will be 5 this summer, which is crazy. And then our second dog, which is this one here, but again, you can't see her, so I'll put a picture up, is Willow, and she is also a miniature cockapoo. We got her in 2021. Yeah, and she is now 3. So yeah, they're both cockapoos. What's a book you would recommend to everyone? Oh, that's such a hard one. Book that I would recommend to everyone is probably Normal People. I think that if you're a romance reader, you would like it. If you're not really a reader, you would like it because it's quite short and quick and easy to read. And if you're more of like a fiction, literary fiction reader, I think you would like it as well. So that's probably like the broadest book that I've got that I love, that I would recommend to people. What is your go-to comfort read? Obviously, Magnolia Parks. Rereading the Magnolia Parks books, like, I love, but would I say that's comforting? I don't know, because it's kind of painful. I don't know, do I have any like go-to comfort reads? Maybe it would be The Unhoneymooners, but I literally haven't reread that since I read it. And I'm kind of scared to reread it because I'm just worried that I wouldn't like it so much anymore. So yeah, I don't know. I can't really think of one for that one, sorry. I'm going to leave it there because I have been talking for 45 minutes and I am going to struggle to edit this down to make it an acceptable length. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this kind of different video, more of a chatty style. And yeah, I would love to see you in my next video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Bye!